Hi guys, this is Tech Howdy. I welcome you to another video tutorial on creating a featured image slider using ASP.NET Core and Angular 8. In the last video tutorial, we finished creating the image preview functionality where we could select the images and then we could see a preview being generated for all selected images. We also fixed the image count as well as the clear preview functionality. We also added the preview deletion functionality where when we click the delete button, the entire row gets deleted along with the image preview. In this video tutorial, we will be creating the functionality to submit this gallery to our database as well as to upload the images on our server. If you have watched the previous video tutorials, we have already created the web API to post data on the database as well as to create directories on the server. In this video tutorial, we will start consuming those APIs using jQuery. So all we have to do is when the submit button is clicked, the gallery gets submitted and we get a confirmation from the server saying that the gallery was uploaded successfully. Before we start coding or consuming the API, we need to make sure that a Kitematic is up and running. So if you have not watched the first video tutorial or the introduction video tutorial where I have asked you to set up your environment, make sure you have done that. So if you have followed the video tutorial, then you should have Kitematic like this. Kitematic is a GUI application that we use to communicate with our container, Docker container. So start your container so that we can have our database available for the application. So when it makes the HTTP post request, our data is posted to the database. Also make sure you have Azure Data Studio up and running and you have connected to your container so that we can verify that the information is being posted on our database. So before coding this, make sure it's done so that we can connect to our database and then we will finally start coding this. So I have set up my environment, so I will go back to my application. I'll leave my application running since I am just coding in jQuery and in uh, Bootstrap here, so I don't need to do any other changes in the ASP.NET Core or C# code. So let's go ahead and go to gallery.js. Before I go to gallery.js, make sure that we understand which method we are calling. So when the submit button is clicked, this form on our uh, Bootstrap code here is going to call the AJAX post method. So this is a form that will be submitted which contains the gallery, and when its submit button is clicked, the AJAX post method is executed. We will first prevent the default submission of the form when the button is clicked because we need to validate certain information before we submit the form. Therefore, the default submission can be prevented by calling the event.prevent default, and then the next method that needs to execute is the AJAX post method. So we have not created that method here. So let's go ahead and create the method AJAX post. So here is the AJAX post method that I have created that we will use to create the featured gallery. So when the method, the button is clicked, all the data from this form is passed as the parameter to this method. So we will call that data as form data object. Now we are going to make use of another HTML5 class called as form data. If we are not aware if you are not aware about HTML classes as explained in the previous video tutorial where we use the image class and the file reader class, you can go and read the MD and docs and you can understand more about HTML5 classes that are available in HTML5 browsers so that you can use it in your browser scripts. Now, so we have a object created of type form data. and what we are doing is passing the form data to this object. We cannot directly edit the data that we are receiving from the form submission. Therefore, we need to make a copy of that data and edit the copy of that data. So to make a copy of form data, we need to create a form data object, and therefore we are making use of the form data class and creating an object and passing the values or that we are receiving from the form submission. Next step is we were going to run a for loop. So when the form is submitted, we are going to receive files as well as text. When I say text, I mean the description, the title, the alt text. When I say file, means the image files. So as we all know, in the previous video tutorial, when we are creating the image preview, we created this object called as form objects. And as I told you that this will contain all the files. So when the form is submitted, we are going to receive this form object array, which will contain all the files. Now what we want to do here is we want to create a for loop so that we can loop through each file in that form object array. So that's what we have done here. We have looped through that form object array, and then we have called the dot append method on the form data object. And the form data has certain methods like append, which can be used to append or to add data into your uh, array in your form data object. So more information can be found here in MD and docs. As you can see here, it says form data creates an object of form data, and to add data inside this form data object, we need to add that data using key value pair. We cannot just add the data, we have to add a key and a value. So the value is Chris and the key is username. So what we doing here in our code is we are looping through each file, and then we are copying that file, each file over here, and then we are adding it to the form data, and then we are deleting the previous file, the original file. So we create a copy and we delete the original file. Next step is to create form objects array 1, which will store all the image captions. So let's go up and create this form objects array over here. So here I'm going to create the form objects array, as I have put my notes over here so it's easy for you to understand, that will contain all the image captions. Scroll down back to our method over here, for loop, same process. We are running through each object inside the form objects array 1 index, and then we are adding all the image captions to our new form data object and deleting the old captions or the original caption. Now the next thing is we have to post this data to our backend, and to post the data to our backend, what we want to do over here is we want to have AJAX options in object that I have created, AJAX options, and this is a jQuery that we are using. So first, when we are posting the data, we have to specify what type of HTTP request. It's a post request. Then we have to specify the API URL, the endpoint of the API, and the endpoint of the API comes from the controller that we created. So if we go to our controller, API controller, so controllers, gallery controller, and here we have all these APIs that we have created. Since we are going to add an image to our database, we are going to call the create new gallery API, and the way we can call this is by API / the controller name and / the action method name. So that's your endpoint, API / gallery / the action method name. And the data that we need to post comes from this form data object that we created. So that's going to be the data object. And now when we post the data, if we receive a success response, which is response 200, okay, then whatever result we get, we will alert it. So what we are going to send as a result, if it's a success, we are going to send a message to the user saying that successfully added and the gallery title. So we are going to see that in an alert box. And after the gallery is added, we are just going to redirect the user to the index page. You can remove this code. I just put a code here to redirect, but if you don't want to redirect, you can leave it as it is because it's an asynchronous request, so you don't need to redirect. You can stay on the same page. Now the next thing that we want to do is we have created this object that's going to post the data. So now we have to also call the check if our form data dot attribute ink type is equal to multipart from data. So if it is equal to multipart form data, as we all know, we are sending multipart form data to our server. If we go back to our form, you can see here that my ink type is encryption type is multipart form data. And what is this multipart form data? We use the multipart form data. Just put a note here for you. I can put it here. We use multipart form data when the form includes any input type which is file. I don't need to explain any further, as you know that we have files, input type files that are images that we are uploading. Therefore, a form type is multipart form data, and if this condition is true, we have to set these two values to false. Next thing that we want to do is we have to call the $.ajax, dollar means jQuery.ajax method, and pass the data. Data comes from this object, Ajax options, not the data, sorry, all the Ajax options needs to be passed here, which are inside this uh, object Ajax options. And finally return false. Now this is done. Now we can test the API method and reload command R on a Mac or control R to reload the JavaScript files. And we will try to submit the data and check that if the method is being called by the submit button. So let's do that. So guys, what I have done here is I've entered some sample data in the image uploader. I have uploaded few images, created a title called as image animal gallery. I'm going to select the home page as the gallery type because it's my featured homepage gallery slider. And now I'm going to click submit, but just before that, make sure that you set up a breakpoint here on your API method, which is create new gallery, so that we can go in step by step and understand how the process works. And it makes everyone more clear because previously when I was explaining when I created this method, since things were not being processed, I was just talking, but now you will see in real time what exactly happens. So now let's click the submit button. When we click the submit button, the Ajax post method should be called. So let's click submit, and as you all see, the Ajax post method was fired. Now if you go, and you can also actually go to, I think it's this, or oh yeah, sorry, the stack, and here you can see what we have received. When you slightly extend this, you will see, first of all, look at the form data object that we have received. The form data object here contains 7 items in it. The count of the item is 7. So what is this 7 items? We have 4 files. 4 files means 4 image files that we upload. We have 7 keys. We have gallery title, we have gallery type, we have image title, we have image caption, we have image alt image text, and we have image description. So these are the 7 keys, and we have values that we are receiving. So we can also check the values by going on to raw view, and if we go to further expand this and we go to dictionary, we should see what we received as data. So let me further expand this here for you guys. So what we have received here, we have received a gallery title as animal gallery. That was what we entered. We have received the gallery type as featured home. That's what we selected. The image title as polar bears are beautiful. And if you notice, look at this. Polar bears are beautiful, horses are beautiful, tigers are beautiful. So what do you understand by this? So we are not receiving polar bears are beautiful, then polar bear alternate text, polar bears description. Instead, we are receiving all image titles in one array, all image captions in one array, all image alt text in one array, and all image descriptions in one array. Therefore, it was very important for us here in our code of API to make sure first we get loop through all files and then we loop through all image captions. And that's what we did here. So we looped through all files, then we got the caption. And how did we loop through each caption? We will see that when I click next. So let's hit the next statement. So first we created a counter, we initialized the counter to 0. Next, from the gallery title, the key gallery title, we have extracted the value, which is animal gallery. So if you hit next statement and hover over it, you will see now the value of gallery title is animal gallery. So going next, gallery type once again is featured home. So we have assigned the value of featured home. Now username is administrator. We assigned it administrator because I have not implemented user roles and application user functionality or membership in this application in this phase. Therefore, I needed to give some username. So I have initialized this by default to administrator. Later, we will, when we go into phase 2, we will add the memberships. So at that point, we will modify this code. Date, time. So the user submitted the request at this point of time. So we are getting the updated time by calling the date time dot now. So hit next. And if you see here, what is the value? We will get a value of date time. These are all the values. Now next we have to get the ID. So we need to, as I mentioned, first we will create a new gallery. First we create the gallery in the gallery table. So go to your database, and very important step here guys. So featured image gallery, go to tables and open your gallery table, edit data. And also I'm opening my gallery image table. As of now, the gallery table doesn't have anything. I can hit run. Now the code is going to be executed, which is going to create a new gallery. So the create new gallery method is going to be executed. So it is executed and it is returned an ID of 1. So now if we check this, I hit run and we have a new gallery created with the time and the last updated time and the gallery type as featured home. Rest other information is not yet entered. Look at this title, nothing is not yet being added. Only we wanted to first create and get the ID so that we can assign it over here in the gallery images. Now we get the gallery path. So next, go here, gallery path is equal to, that's the gallery path, which includes the environment root path plus the name of the ID to string. So that's what we are doing here. So if we go here, whatever is the ID of the gallery, we are adding that to the path at the end. You can see that's 1, that's the ID. Then next step is we need to add this gallery path to our database, but I don't need to add the entire path with my, you see that users, that my username / desktop. I don't need that all information. I just need to get rid of that information when I'm adding data, the path to the database. So if I hit next method here, you will see that I have just a short path here, which is uploads / gallery / 1. That's all I'm going to add to my database table. Now guys, the next method, which is to create a directory folder. So this is fun here. So let me go and open. We are creating a directory folder inside images, www root. So inside this path here, you see, which is root upload. So there is no uploads folder yet created. So let's open our root folder, reveal this in Finder. Okay. And okay, let me just open this. Let me see if I can put this over here so we can at least see what's happening. Okay, so there is no uploads folder. So I'm going to hit next. And what do you see there? The uploads folder is created because inside the create directory method that we had, what we said was if the directory does not exist, you create it. So that's what happened over here. The directory uploads did not existed, so we created it. Inside the directory, what we did, we created a gallery folder because it did not exist. Inside the gallery folder, we created a folder which has the name 1. How did it get this name? That is basically the ID of the gallery that we created. An ID of the gallery is 1, therefore the name of the folder is also 1. So all images related to ID 1 gallery will be stored inside this folder. So that's how this logic works over here. Now let's go and go next. And this is going to be a loop where we are going to loop through each file. We are going to create an extension. So I'm just going to jump quickly from this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you if the file, so we know the file count was 7. I showed you over here in code that the file count was 7. So we are going to loop through each file. I'll just show one loop and then I'll jump over to the next code. So to get the extension of the file, which is .jpeg, we call this get extension method over the file. Then we call get the file name, which is we are giving the file a unique name by datetime.now string, which is the current date and time. So every time the file name is created, we get a unique name. Then we go to the path. Once again, the path is the path which we are combining where we want to add the images. This is not the path for the folder. This is the path for the folder. That is 1 at the end, you see, plus the image name. So we are going to add the image inside this folder that we just created with the ID 1 or with the name 1. Okay. Next step is the image caption. Get the image caption. So the first image caption, was polar image. How we are getting the first image? Because we put a counter here and the value of the counter is 0. So it will get you the first indexed image value. Now, next, same thing for alternate text. And then we are creating the gallery image object, assigning the values. So the ID is 1 for the image, and then the description, the text. Finally, we are going to add it to the database. So we add the object. It will not add the object unless you hit the save async method. So first what we want to do, guys, I will show you this over here. It's fun. So I've opened the folder here. So using the file stream object, I'm going to copy each file into this folder, whose path I have provided here. So let's see what's happening here. Okay, when I hit next, there should be an image copied there. So as you see, the image was copied with the ID. Now copy, then increment the counter from 0 to 1, go back on top, and the second loop executes. So this same process will go 4 times because we had 4 images. The counter will go 1, which will get the value of the second indexed object. Now I'm just jumping right over here, guys, to the return statement, because to the update statement, or I'm just going to jump here actually to the last updated time. So because I don't want to go through the loop, you guys understand the process. As you see, all the images were created, 4 images. Now the next thing is we need to update certain values in our gallery table over here, since the time also has been updated. So we also have to add the title because this is null, it was not added. So that's what we are doing here. We are going to assign the title, the updated time, the title, as well as the username. So username, once again, I gave it as administrator, and I explained to you why. Gallery URL is the path, not the full path, but just the relative path. And then finally, we are going to update because we already have created the gallery. We cannot add now. We have to update the existing gallery with the ID 1. So that's why we call the dot update method. And then we save the changes. After we save the changes, if you refresh this, you see it's null now. If you refresh this, now it has a value of all the objects that we inserted. Finally, we are going to return a response of successfully added with the gallery title. And let's hit this, and that's what we see on our browser, successfully added. Then the JavaScript kicks in where the response is success, alert the result, and then redirect the user to the index page. So if I click OK, I should be added to the index page, but I think it should not because we have not yet added the functionality. So featured slider. Yep. Yeah. So that should be it for this tutorial. In the next video tutorial, we will work on the edit functionality of the web API on our front end. And I will show you how you can edit the existing gallery that we just created, edit all the values. Also, I didn't show you the gallery image table. So if I run this, you see the new gallery images have been updated. Each of them have the same gallery ID, which is 1, which means they are associated with this gallery. So there's a relation between them. And all the information that we added also related to each image has been processed and added to our database. Also, I showed you the server where the images were copied on the folder inside the gallery folder. Next time when you add, it will create a new folder with the gallery ID and add the images inside that. So that should be it for this tutorial, guys. I will push this code in the DevOps repo so you'll have access to it. Make sure you yourself put a breakpoint, go through each step so you understand it and you don't have any doubts. And if you still have doubts, use the comment section. I'll be happy to answer and help you guys. And if you don't mind, please like and subscribe my channel since I bring you such content. Thank you.